人間に戻してやるからな。まっすぐに前を向け。己を鼓舞しろ。頑張れ炭治郎。頑張れ。鬼滅の刃、日の神血風譚。
Welcome back to Retro Rebound. In today's video, you are joined by the Retro Hashira himself, because today we are going back to a pretty recent release in Demon Slayer, the Hinokami Chronicles. Little fun fact about your boy. I'd say I'm a moderate manga reader. I tried to read as much as I can, but I'm very much feast or famine with it. Like when I start reading, it's at least 3 volumes or bust. Like I just go through it like a madman. But there are stretches I don't. There is one series that, oh, did I feast? I binged it, and that was Demon Slayer. About 24 volumes. There's some other spin-off ones, and I love it. Like Demon Slayer is absolutely one of my favorites ever. I adore it, adore it, adore it. I love what they're doing with the anime. I mean, it's beautiful. We're not gonna talk about the recent movie, okay? I know they kind of messed up there, but otherwise, season 3 is underway. I never had a chance to talk about Demon Slayer here on this channel because, quite frankly, that was before we were doing a lot of anime games here. So I thought, with season 3 underway and everyone about to be graced by the greatness that is Muichiro, I thought I'd talk about this game finally because I never got to get it off my chest, which is, as a huge Demon Slayer fan, this game, it makes me a little sad. So we'll get into that. But ladies and gentlemen, if you are new here and you are into anime, game retrospectives and reviews and that kind of stuff, you're in the right place. Consider subscribing now. Yes, the complete in-box experience. This does come with some slips. I thought that was pretty nice. Shout out to Sega. Anyway, what we've got here is the front cover PS5 version. The back says, "Become the blade that destroys the demons." A sorrowful tale of siblings in which fates of humans and demons intertwine in console game form, with adventure mode reliving the story of the beloved anime Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba all the way up to the Mugen Train arc. Take on the role of the series protagonist Tanjiro Kamado and fight to stop demons from preying on innocent people. Now I apologize, this text is so small, it's ridiculous, but I'm trying my best here. Last thing, versus mode. They mentioned a versus mode is here, and that speaks for itself. Now, yes, really, complete in box time. Check this out. There is a slip as promised next to the disc. Here it is, the Kimetsu Academy Tanjiro character unlock key and PSN avatars for Tanjiro and Nezuko. I already redeemed them, but that's what it comes with. That is your complete in box experience. Keep that in mind if you're trying to, put this one on the shelf. But now, let's talk about this game. I said it makes me a little bit sad. Why is that? So, what I did in the terms of order of consumption here for Demon Slayer is I began watching the anime, caught up on all of that, loved it. Usually that's my gauge if I want to go read the manga and just get way ahead of it, or if I want to just wait it out. With Demon Slayer, I didn't want to wait it out. I typically can wait it out, like something such as Chainsaw Man, I would have waited out because the animation is fantastic. Not that the manga would do it a disservice, but I just love what Mappa is doing with Chainsaw Man, and it really won me over. So I'll just wait for the anime on that. But with something like Demon Slayer, the world truly captivated me. So then I went ahead and read all of the manga series, and now I'm just going back and watching whatever is released. And right now we're in season 3, which is the Blacksmith Village arc. And that is personally one of my favorites because my favorite character in the series is introduced here, which is Muichiro. And I can't wait for y'all who have not read the manga to see this man. He is so awesome. The Mist Hashira is here. Okay, so anyway, I point all of that out because when you talk about Demon Slayer, oftentimes it's the flash and the pizzazz of the animation. Extremely vibrant, colorful. It's beautiful, man. Especially, I think it's season 2, episode 11. There's one fight there that's just so legit. They do a wonderful job at UFO Table. And I gotta say that when you have all of those visuals captured, that's what this game really goes for. Kind of the Cyber Connect Ultimate Ninja Storm treatment. And there is value in that. But I think what this game ends up missing out on, because it goes for all flash, is some of the deeper story moments. So there is, as the back of the box mentioned, the adventure mode. The adventure mode is what I would define as really stiff. And I just don't think this game had to be a 3D fighter. And that's unfortunate because so many anime games fall into that trope. Like, I actually think Demon Slayer was a great fit for the One Piece Odyssey treatment. Like, I think a turn-based RPG for Demon Slayer made so much sense because there are so many intermittent battles with lesser demon before they get to the big bad demon or the 12 Kazuki and so on and so forth, that I feel like it just makes sense. Like you're scaling up to the big boss fights constantly in Demon Slayer. So I thought that already they were trying to fit like a square peg into a circle hole with this game. And it's also because 3D anime fighters are kind of the trope, right? We know as anime game fans, that's typically the go-to. And there was a time it was amazing, but eventually it started to feel like, okay, all of them have to be that. Whether it was My Hero Academia, whether it was One Punch Man, now Demon Slayer, like everything has to get its 3D fighter treatment. Of course, Dragon Ball is no stranger to it, where I feel like we could be doing more with these games because they're so popular. Like Demon Slayer took over Japan, so why do we have to go this route? That doesn't make it a bad fighter, but I just feel like the game clearly isn't fit for it, because what happens in adventure mode is you'll run around these little areas, and especially in certain points, it shows its ugly part, like when you're in the house that, I forgot the name of it exactly, but the house that transforms when the demon hits the drums. And when you're running around there, this is where the ugly part of adventure mode shines, because you're just running down the same hallway to the next cutscene, to the next fight, over and over. What Demon Slayer, I think, does right as a game is that you'll actually fight lesser demons. Normally in fighting games, my biggest quirk with them has always been you have to fight named characters that are a part of the roster, and they never expand beyond that. So every story feels like they're jamming in unnecessary fights just to keep the action rolling, even if it doesn't make any narrative sense at all. And so this game does get that right. You'll fight random demons that are pretty much unnamed, and I do dig that. But it's there that I feel like, well, why is this a 3D fighter then if this is what you wanted to do? I think of some of the older Ultimate Ninja Storm games. I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 where there were these mob battles. It was like a beat 'em up before you got to the actual fight. And while it still used the same combat system as Ultimate Ninja Storm and could feel a little janky at times, it worked for me. And I just don't know why we didn't put that design philosophy into Demon Slayer, because it's clear that that's what they wanted to do. So overall, these environments feel extremely linear, just going down one path to the next cutscene, to the next mob battle, and it just starts to feel very stiff, where even as a diehard Demon Slayer fan, I just couldn't fall overly in love with this game. And that really bummed me out, because I love Demon Slayer anything. I mean, hello, the apparel, read the whole manga. I mean, it speaks for itself. Like, I adore this franchise, but I just feel like this game was a bit of a miss in the terms of what they could do with the story mode there, because there is so much like building up. I think of when Tanjiro had to like cut the rock in half, and like that to me just screams RPG tutorial. There was just so many moments here that I feel like the show and the manga itself beget a different genre than what this was stuffed into. But that doesn't mean it's all bad. As mentioned on the back of the box, there is a versus mode, as you'd expect in any fighting game, and that's where you really see the Cyber Connect 2 energy here. Again, as I mentioned earlier, Cyber Connect 2 is known for their work on, say, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, which we talked about on the channel a couple months ago. They're also known for their work on the Ultimate Ninja Storm franchise, and what they're best known for is that flash and capturing of the anime energy so perfectly, while also not having the deepest fighting games. You trade off the depth of a fighting game, the simplicity of a fighting game, for something that really evokes the energy of the anime that you're participating in pretty much here. So whether it was Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, which I thought was truly fantastic in a lot of ways, because you were taking the old Z animation and upgrading what was there, versus something like Demon Slayer, the Hinokami Chronicles, where it's kind of parallel to what Cyber Connect is doing. So why would we make a game all about the flash and pizzazz, especially when a lot of these scenes are trimmed down and the cutscenes are stiff? I'm sorry if I sound overly negative. Just again, as a huge Demon Slayer fan, I do feel like this game was a miss in some areas. But the combat isn't bad. So it is like you'd expect in a Cyber Connect fighting game. It is a typical one-button fighter where you have a special attack button. One thing that I struggle with this game, one thing that I have a love-hate relationship with in this game is really the combo meter itself. So when you start a combo, you're going to see your hit counter pop up, and next to it's going to be a little circle, and that's going to quickly start to diminish. And when that circle empties out, that's it. Your combo's over. And it's this artificial way of dropping combos, and I get it, so that there is balance and that you don't 500 hit your opponent and they can't fight back at all. I like that they went for a little bit of balance here, but it feels awkward when I'm in the middle of dicing up my opponent because their guard was low and I got all the combos, all my partners coming in and attacking, all the special attacks chaining right, and then it just drops at like the 28th hit because, well, sorry, Maddie, combo timer was up, so you got to stop fighting. I don't like that because at least one thing that I think Ultimate Ninja Storm did right was there was this balance of, okay, you got to remember, you got your substitution jutsus here. And Demon Slayer has some of that defensive depth. There is, of course, blocking, but there's also countering where you have to hold the block button and move your analog stick, and you will do a deflect, and that can be a good defensive strategy. So it does add a flow to it, but the ability to punish, I think, is limited here. And that's coming from someone who doesn't like typically spammy fighting games or fighting games where you can't fight back, but when you neuter the ability to punish your opponent, especially in the single player component where I feel like they could have just stripped that out, again, it does feel a little bit awkward. What I will say they've done a good job with in this game is support. So I purchased all the DLC here for Demon Slayer, the Hinokami Chronicles, to try out everyone from Izui to Kaza. Everyone is here. And I was really pleased with how many demon characters they included in the roster. Like Rui is here, which I thought was cool. And for me, I like that when you play as a demon slayer, you can call in a partner. But if you are a demon, which is typically portrayed as in the manga and the anime, these practically unbeatable characters, I love that they fight on their own and that they're super, super powerful. I mean, they do damage, but of course the trade-off is you can't call in your partner to break up a combo. You can't call in a partner to do everything. It's all on you, but you are stronger, and it makes sense because it fits in with what exactly the show is about. Like, these demon slayers have to team up to take on what are typically just like 4-on-1 fights, 3-on-1 fights. And I love that. I love that they captured that in the fighting game. As a big fan, that works really well for me. And when you throw in some of these great characters and capture them so well, that again is where CyberConnect shines, where you see these finishing moves, these arts they can do, and just how absolutely beautifully animated they are. I mean, it can be spectacular to witness at times, but again, there is that part of me that looks at, now I'm in a post-One Piece Odyssey world, and I think, man, this game would have been perfect. This series would have been perfect for a turn-based RPG. And I hope with Demon Slayer's increased popularity that, much like we've seen with One Piece, with Dragon Ball, that they do experiment with these games. I mean, that was the beauty of the older anime genre, is you would typically get the experiments over on like handheld devices. So you'd get your Naruto Ultimate Ninja, your big console fighting game on PlayStation, over there, but then you'd get maybe Path of a Ninja on DS, which was this turn-based RPG, and so you weren't necessarily locked off. But as game development costs have increased, you kind of just go for the surefire bet in your 3D fighter, and if it works out well, then you maybe increase the odds with a riskier genre. I would say that given RPGs are so popular, it'd be a good fit. And maybe you disagree. Maybe an action-adventure game for Demon Slayer would be a bigger fit for you. I just feel like, again, RPG is the name of the game here for Demon Slayer. And maybe that's why I click with it, because that's my favorite genre, but I just can't help but think of it. But yeah, from animation to style, it's all there as you'd expect in a CyberConnect game. And the online play itself, I did mess around with that the most when this game first came out, before dropping it and then coming back for this video, going through some of the story again, and then doing some of the versus play. It is a pretty complete package. I do like how in the adventure mode, as you complete different missions and cutscenes, you'll unlock special missions. So there is a good progression loop here. There is a grading system as you'd expect if you've played Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm. But overall, I can't help but feel this game was a bit framed, if you will. Like, it had to be a certain style game because it does evoke so much Ultimate Ninja Storm energy that it just feels like something's missing here, which maybe is a sense of identity beyond the characters that you're playing as. But yeah, it's not a bad game, and I feel like maybe you will feel by the end of this, I've kind of sold you on the fact that it's a bad game, but it's just more so it's an unsurprising game. It is very much a CyberConnect 3D anime fighter with what I thought was an adventure mode that didn't really expand on cool elements that typically games do. Like they have interesting interactions with different characters that you usually don't see, that maybe they save for the game itself to just make it more interesting. Like I think of Attack on Titan 2 from Koei Tecmo and Omega Force, where what they did was they let you create your own character and put this interesting social system into the game that I thought was really, really cool, because it lets you interact with these characters on a different level, but you still play the same Season 1, Season 2 content, but the interactions in between were different. Demon Slayer is very much evoking that sense of the early 2000s, and I think the worst way, which is, this is from start to finish, the same thing you already know. We're not gonna really change anything here, and in a lot of ways, this is worse than you would expect. Because like when you look at the manga, that's the most expansive version, right? And then the anime will trim down certain elements of that. So that's kind of the abridged version of the manga. And then the game is the abridged version of the abridged version, so it feels even more slim. So it can be a little frustrating, but I think that's my super fanness kicking in more than actually the game being traditionally flawed. But I just wanted to share some thoughts on it with Season 3 around the corner. The Demon Slayer hype was high, so it was nice to fire this up and just get into that mode again. But every time I fire it up, I'm like, man, I just wish we did something else here. But anyway, maybe you disagree, and I'm always welcome to have those disagreements. So I'm looking forward to seeing your thoughts on Demon Slayer, the Hinokami Chronicles. Are you hyped for Demon Slayer Season 3? Let me know down below. And with that, take great care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next Retro Rebound. Peace out.